Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I hope this video reaches everyone in the best of health, alhamdulillah. To start off with, I'm Misbah Saleem, and I have been teaching since the year 2000, and it's been a long journey teaching various levels. I started off in Karachi, and a little bit about my educational background is that I have an honors degree in psychology and a master's degree in English. And but unfortunately, I'm not in the psychological field. I'm in English and in teaching and with children. That is my passion. To start off again, I would just like to say that it was by accident I came into teaching. I went for my daughter's admission at Beacon House and they offered me a job. They had a vacancy, and that's how I landed as a teacher. I've been a teacher, a very happy teacher, alhamdulillah, all through my life, and looking forward to better times ahead. Um, I taught at Karachi, in Beacon House, City School, then in Islamabad as well, at Roots Montessori, Roots, the high school as well, and then at Preparatory School Islamabad, and now currently I'm teaching at FFC Grammar School and College in a very remote part of Pakistan in Mirpur Matelo in Sindh. I'm teaching an O-level class as well as some junior classes. So I have a variety of students, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, and C2, Cambridge 2 as we call it, which is O2. They do their English paper in O3 next year, inshallah. So that is it with my teaching experience. Problems that I face in teaching English in here, especially in Sindh, in a remote part of Sindh, actually. I have taught in Karachi and in Islamabad, but in Sindh, it's a bit different. First of all, it's a very diverse culture over here, diverse, people are from all places. Secondly, exposure is a bit less to the language, of course, that we are teaching. And then children over here, actually, it happens actually teaching English in Pakistan is not easy because children already have their mother tongues, which are their own languages, then the national language, and then the third thing is teaching English, which is, not a lot of exposure, especially in the cities. So that's how it is. And now starting off with, so anyway, hardships are there, and I'm trying my best, and everyone is trying their best. Still, our children come up with marvelous results. That is, the end thing is a marvelous picture, and they get admissions in very good places in Pakistan and abroad. So that is the good story. Anyway, so now, being a language teacher, and specifically my workshop or my lesson is called Writing and the How-To of it. How to write. That's what we all think. We all talk about writing, 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 but the problem, if we look at it from the child's perspective, it's how to write and what to write. So that's where we step in, of course, and I try a lot of ways. I'm sure everyone who's in this field, who's a language teacher, be it Urdu or English or any other language for that reason, we have our shortcomings and we have our problems, but at the same time, children are doing very well. So I'm just going to share a few, methods, you could call them. They're tried and tested. Of course, I've been trying them throughout my career as a teacher, and they've worked really well. So I plan sharing them, and I'm sure there will be people who already are doing them. So for some it's new, for some it's okay, the same thing that we're doing. But and there are many other ways as well. So the first and the foremost thing for being a good writer or being a writer is that we need to be a good observer, actually, because we are asking children, to write letters, we are asking them to write reports, then in creativity, they have to write stories, which are first person and third person narratives, then they have to write descriptive writings on various scenarios that are given to them, and they have to do argument writing. So there's a whole genre of writing, and children at times feel stuck. So the question basically arrives is what and how? How are we going to start? Usually, like before, it was, or like fairy tales start once upon a time and ending with happily ever after. We discourage that because that's the old fashioned way. And so the first thing that I would like to share as an activity, and people who are watching me can follow my instructions as I'm speaking. What I do in the classroom is, let's say we are talking about a particular thing, and I ask children, okay, stop your work and listen to me. Keep your work down. I mean, stop it and listen. So that's what they do. I tell them, okay, shut your eyes. That's what they all do. They all have to shut their eyes. Of course, some of them try to peek in, but that's not allowed. They shut their eyes once or they put their heads down, on the table. And after that, I ask them, I speak some sentences, and they will create that picture in their mind. All right. So I would like everyone to do that who's watching right now. Please either shut your eyes or put your head down on your table, wherever you are. And I will speak out some sentences, just 3 or 4, and you will follow them in your mind. No writing, no talking, nothing. So, okay, shut your eyes, everybody. Fine. The next thing is, imagine yourself at the park. I can hear the sounds in the park. Yes. But we are not going to say anything. Okay. Then I'll say, what time of the day is it? Think what time of the day it is. They'll think. Got it? They'll just shake their heads. I'll ask them to shake their heads. Okay. We are in the park. The time of the day is decided according to every child's own wish. There are some children on the slides. I can see that over there. There are some kids on the slide. And when I say on the slide, one could be up the stairs, one could be down, one could be waiting for his turn. Okay. There is a popcorn cart in one side selling, I can smell the popcorn in the air. Buttery, fresh popcorn. I get that smell. And then snap it out. Ask the kids, okay, open up your eyes. What did you see? What did you smell? And take in those answers, take those responses from the children, and then they will, they'll talk about their own experiences, or whatever they saw right now, and that's how they're going to do it. So one thing is developing the uh, imagination of the child. This is one way that we can do in the classroom. And if we have time, of course, we all have time. It hardly takes 2 or 3 minutes. We can do that. Now, the second thing that I do in my classroom is taking my children out for a walk. That would be about 10 minutes of a 40-minute lesson, 10 minutes, when I'll take them out. And I'll tell them, we are not going to write anything. We are just going to observe. We're going to listen. We're going to see. We're going to see everything around us. What's up, what's down, what's all around us. You can, the children will line up and go out in the football field, or somewhere in the garden, or, any place which is around your proximity of the school, within the school boundary, of course. And then I'll ask them, okay, now we have to observe. What do you look up at the sky? What do you see? A few crows flying over, or An occasional aeroplane, maybe, or some clouds, of course, if there are clouds up there. How is the sun? Is it hot? We need to keep prompting them, prompt them so that they know what they are supposed to look for. If we don't pose any question to them, they will not know. They will, just waste time, push this one, push that one, and over. The time is over. And when they get back to the class, they'll say, "Oh, teacher, I didn't hear it and I didn't see it. And that kid was, disturbing me." Children are like that. Anyway, so I'll ask them, look up at the sky, all right? Feel the grass if there is grass over there. They can sit down. Oh, it's pinchy, it's hot, it's dry. Those are the responses we get. Touch a leaf, see if it is it wet, has it been watered? Can you hear a bird somewhere? Or far away, what can you hear far away? A passing train, or somebody chatting with somebody calling someone, a horn of a car. What can I hear around me? So we need to teach them to listen to the sounds close and far. What are the major sounds? What are the minor sounds? What is the big picture about in the football field? What do I see? What are the things far away? What are the things close by? I see the football ground, but nobody is there. Nobody is playing. Okay, why? Ask them to, think about all these things. Then after a good 5 7 minutes out in the ground, ask them to come in. Yes, smell the air as well, take in a deep breath, smell the air. They might say, "Oh, I smell someone making a paratha somewhere. I smell some smoke." Children love it. They like breathing in and breathing out. And then how do they feel overall? That is what will help them in writing. Fine? That is another way. Now, another activity when we are in the classroom, these are, outdoor activities. They go out, they enjoy. Then when they come back in the class, okay, time to write now. Oh, then we'll tell them, okay, now we will write about what we felt outside. We can make those, what did I see? Make it on the board. Um, brainstorming, make those webs, seeing, listening, smelling, touching, and my overall feelings. We can ask every child to come and write their feelings, and then we could construct them into sentences or construct them in adding adjectives, and that's how they will build on. Another activity which is very interesting with my students is that, a story, it's not even expensive, just take a page. What I do normally is we need to be clear with our instructions, first of all, to avoid any kind of chaos in the class, of course. Like I write a sentence on the paper and I fold it. I pass it to the first child sitting in the row. I tell him or her, write anything on this. Look here, like I wrote this sentence. I'm sure you can all see it. Ali kicked the ball. I have written this. I folded it. Now, the next child is going to write up here. Whatever, he hasn't seen this, he's not going to open it and see it. He's just going to write whatever he feels like. He'll write it down here and then he'll fold it. Now, the next child behind him or her will write something else. Then they'll fold it. Then they'll fold it. You can take a bigger, longer paper. In this way, the whole paper is folded till the end, or you could give it randomly in the classroom if we don't have so much time, give it randomly. And then when it comes back to you, you read it out. And children really enjoy it. Ali kicked the ball. One child must have written, my cat was rolling on the carpet. Somebody else must have written, Mom was calling for dinner. It's just what they were thinking. It's a way of grabbing their attention, a way of thinking. We can tell them, okay, you are going to use an adjective or a verb only, or, write some action things in them. So you can make them focus on that, right? So this is another very simple, very easy, and very much fun. Believe me, children love it. Okay. Now, these are some of the activities that I have shared. Now, one more thing that I find is that, which is very important while writing, we need to discourage children from translating. That is something which, stops them from thinking. Now, if a child asks me, teacher, उसको क्या कहते हैं English में? I tell them, think. What do you think is the word for another word for thinking? I was thinking. And they want to say that, teacher, I was looking at something and thinking, or I was um, remembering something that happened. Then I tell them, oh, recall. I was recalling. I was remembering it, or I was, calling out, calling it out in my mind somehow. Make them, get new words. So children need to be encouraged all the time think of something new, think of action. They are so active. Children are so active. They need to bring all their action into their words. All right. Another way is maintaining a free write diary or a journal, something handy, a small diary. Normally, my students carry a free write diary, which is a little book or a booklet. They can make it themselves. And they just write whatever they feel like writing in it, either in poetry form, in just a stanza or two, or in a paragraph, or in multiple paragraphs. What I tell them is like twice a week when they are at home. Free write is done at home actually when they are free, because children are burdened with homework, with lots of other work to do and revision and all that. So what I tell them is usually over the weekends or one day during a weekday, what they can do is when they are done with all their work, you know, then they can sit out in their backyards, or they can sit in their living rooms or in their bedroom, wherever they feel like, um, you know, sitting and writing. Uh, Ask them to sit there, think. It could be a bed sheet on the bed, write about it. It could be what's happening in the living room at that very moment. They could write about that. It could be just anything, you know, and they could describe the backyard, they could describe their bedroom, they could describe any decorative object at home, their father's car, or things like that, anything that prompts them there and then. So that is a very good helping thing. And then they come back to school and they bring, after every like 10 days, I ask them, okay, bring in your free write diaries. And they very fondly love to read from it. They love to read about what they've written. And the children always feel so special when we listen to what they write, and we encourage them for more. So that is a very good way of helping them out. Now, another thing that is also a good writing way, like we start off in school, of course, we brainstorm and everything. At times, children tell me, we don't know what to write when once we are home. So, what I have told them, and what I also do is, I tell them that make a writing corner at home. It could be, for me, it works best near my window. Windows are, of course, a whole big perspective is from a window. I'm pointing that way because my window is right here, and we have a whole world outside. There are trees, there's a garden, there's the sky, which is boundless, endless, and sounds, of course, smells. So it's such a big encouragement to sit near a window and write. Sit comfortably, write what you feel like writing. That is a very good way of writing. Now, another pointer of mine is In the classroom, we can have verbal stories. Verbal stories are very important. Like I could start my story by saying, okay, we're going to do story telling today, not story writing, because children, oh, got to write again 350 words, 450 words. No, teacher. Okay, we're going to tell a story today. How? Whose story? The how and whose story brings in the character. Okay, let's see who should be in the story. Then the children, teacher, a boy, a girl, a little boy. Okay, his mama as well. All right, the little boy and his mom, where were they going? Then I can start off and say that, all right, there's this boy. What should we call him? Someone will say, teacher, let's call him Tom. Let's call him Peter. Let's call him Abdullah. Okay, let's call him Ali. Fine. And his mom, okay, they were going out to the market. Where were they going? Someone would say they're going to Hyperstar. Okay. Someone, they're going to Sunday Bazaar. Fine. All right. So that's how children, pose answers. They start thinking, okay, what's going to happen? And all that is coming from their prior experiences. Being a language teacher, I've seen that, of course, being human beings, we all are human beings, we have our experiences. And whatever we write, whatever we think comes from our store of experiences that we have gained all through the years. And children are, of course, much smarter than us. They are so smart. They are so, active. They have so much to think about, but they just need that, direction. And we, being writing teachers, we need to show them how. Otherwise, they are experts at doing their work. So that's another way. Now, another very good way, of course, all I find them also interesting. That's why at every point I say this is another very good way, is another free write technique. I told you about the free write diaries. This is a free write technique. Now, in the free write technique, what happens is I do this with the older students actually. The O-level students, when they're so tired, teacher, we don't want to do anything today, or we are so tired. Okay, we're going to do some, we have something to do. So I can get objects from around me. Like here, I have a mug. It's empty right now, but a mug. Then I will, a lipstick, a mug, a lipstick, a pen, earphones, and a cell phone. How many? A cell phone, a mug, earphones, pen, and lipstick. I keep the objects in front on the teacher's table. And what I do is I tell the children, all right, write a story regarding all these objects. These objects are in your story. What's going to happen in your story? Oh, they say, you're tricking us into story writing. And then they really love it. They start thinking, oh, how could the mug and the earphones be related? We know that the earphones and the phone are related, of course. The mug and the lipstick and the pen. They start thinking and, making up stories. And then I tell them, okay, just a short thing. It's not going to be a long story, just one block of your story, a chunk. What are you going to write about them? And they come up with marvelous ideas. Usually it's suspense or mystery and, all those kind of stuff that older children love to write about. So this is a very tried and tested, and I think my students love it. Now, another important thing, as I just said, that children usually write from their experiences that they have gathered over the years through reading, through watching TV, watching movies, playing on the computer. So they are now, they have a big bank of ideas. But we always tell children, be realistic while writing. Be realistic. Think of things that could really happen. because unrealistic at times, they get stuck. Then they're like, okay, I started it, how to end it now? Of course, it could be a science fiction story, because the world is going beyond earth now, of course. And children think that way as well, so they can write about such things. So it's very important to take examples from daily life. I ask them for a character, don't go very far. If you're sitting in your examination room, look at the characters around you, put them in your story. Or think of the weather conditions, how could you write them? Think of the place, it could be a doctor's clinic, maybe it could be the supermarket. Where does your story take place? Do not shift the scene too much, do not shift the setting of your story too much, because they have a limited word count, so they need to stay to that. And then encourage children, of course, to read. Reading is a very, very good habit. We need to teach children how to read and develop that passion for reading. Now, of course, I know people will say, how? My kid doesn't like to read. They find it so cumbersome and boring. So let them read anything. Encourage them to read. I discourage my students from reading subtitles of movies. I mean, it makes no sense. I tell them you're missing all the fun, all the action goes when you're reading it. So, how could you read a movie? You're watching a movie. You're supposed to watch it, not read it. So then they say, oh, okay. So, discourage them from reading a movie, but encourage them to read books. They have to read books, because apart from that, that's how their vision is going to be broadened. Their ideas will be, they'll have an influx of ideas. Okay, I read about that character. I'm going to put him in my story. Or I like that twist, that plot twist in the story. I'm going to think of something similar. Such things encourage them to talk about characters, talk about different books they have read by doing a book review. Make them write about books, make them compare one book to another book, which was betterly told, which had a better setting, which had better descriptions of the characters, which had amazing plot twists. So that's what we can do being teachers. We can just show them the way, and it is them who will do it. So again, reading to sorry, I was saying children because I'm used to that. So dear audience, I would just like to say that it's of course very a patient work. We need a lot of patience while teaching. And teaching a language is not easy, but of course, we do it, and children do it even better. They are able to do a lot more. Now, one more thing is that when reading, some children don't like to read long stories. Like some child might say, teacher, the size of the book, it's so thick. I don't feel like reading it. So then you can introduce them to abridged versions. I ask my students to really read classics, because classics have that material that we would not find from modern writers. So the settings, the feel of that old-fashioned book, they should have that feeling. So if not, they don't want to read the whole extended version, introduce them to abridged versions, introduce them to other ways of reading. Like if my student does not want to read a whole book, I also introduce them to summaries of the book. Although many people might be uh, against it, of course, but at least they are reading, they will know the story. Okay, that happened, and these were the characters in the story, this was the plot, this is what happened, and this is the end. Another person has read it in detail, of course it's going to benefit him or her in his own way, and a person who has read the story, but at least they can chip into a conversation and a discussion that we would have about the book, they are able to do that. So at least they would not feel left out that, oh, I didn't do my work and I can't say anything about this story. So they will be in the story, they will know what it is about, and they will play their part in the story, in the class. So it's very important for children. And then, yes, there are some children who say, I don't like to read stories. I like to read about airplanes. Okay, good. He's building the vocabulary for that. He likes to read about airplanes. Somebody likes to read about gardening. Somebody likes to read recipe books or interior decor books. That's very good. Let them read. As long as they are reading, it's good. I ask my students at times that when you go to the supermarket, do you read what's written on the toothpaste? Or we just buy it off by color? So they do laugh at it and they say, oh, yeah, we do read it. So these are the different techniques that work in writing. Writing is very important. It's a view that we have of the inner personality. Children at times don't want to write, but writing is not a one-day thing. It takes at least 2 days to write, sometimes 3 days to write, because they are thinking, they are brainstorming, then they gather the information. After that, they jot it down, the important things, and then they start writing on like day 3. So it's of course a long process, but it is always fruitful. And one last thing I would like to share in writing is peer reading. When another friend reads my work, I would like it to be so good and show it to him. See, this is what I wrote. Before the work comes to me, share a checklist on the board for children to find their way around their own writing. When they have done that, then we can exchange the books. In the checklist, I usually write that, is there a cliffhanger in your story? Okay. And they will mark it in the story and write it down in the margin line. Is there a description of the setting? They will put a bracket wherever the description is, okay, and tell me that this is the description. After that, peer reading, I ask each child that, okay, each child will read 2 stories of 2 different kids. After that, they are able to, share their thoughts. Sana wrote a marvelous story. Teacher, I liked Ibrahim's story. He ended so well. Or I found Anis's story rather funny. He's written it so well. So those are the responses we wait for. Children really love it. They love taking out errors of other children as well. That is another story. But writing, as my topic said, the how to of it is, again, we have to keep on doing it. And as they graduate from the little ones to when they do their paper in '03, they are very good at it by that time. So that's it about my presentation about the writing process and how to do it. And I'm sure we all have different ways, tested ways, and marvelous ways of doing it. And I hope it was fruitful for all of you. And I hope I shared some valuable information with everyone. And I really enjoyed doing it. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.